Hi students, in this class we are going to discuss here two topics which are interlinked with each other. One is called ischiorectal fossa, precisely ischioanal fossa, and another is the Pudendal canal or the LEC canal. Now if you are looking at this is called the ischiorectal fossa, the ischioanal fossa. This you will find here in the perineal region once again. This is not a pelvic, true pelvis, I say this is not a part of the pelvic cavity proper, this all is lying under the pelvic diaphragm. You can say it is lying under the pelvic diaphragm, and the pelvic diaphragm, under the pelvic diaphragm is the perineum. And if you will actually see the perineum from the external side here, you see from the lithotomy position, from the inferior aspect, the perineum will in fact will be bounded by diamond shaped boundaries here, or rhomboid boundaries like this we have already focused here. This is called the inferior border of the pubic symphysis, is called the pubic symphysis. The body of the pubis is pubic rami, then ischial tuberosities, and at the same time we have seen sacrotuberous ligaments and the tip of the coccyx. This was a diamond shaped outlet boundaries, they say. The boundaries of the pelvic outlet means you can say the pelvic outlet boundaries, they are equivalent to the, you say, the boundaries of the perineum, because pelvic outlet means you are in the down area, you are in the lower I say inferior 15% area of the pelvic cavity, I say of the true pelvis, that is called the perineum. You can call it the bony perineum also. That is covered with a soft tissue perineum, means these structures you are able to see only when you have removed the superficial skin. Next layer is the fatty layer and next layer is the Colles fascia or the membranous layer. And if you are going from inside out, you see the first thing will be the Colles fascia, second will be the fatty layer, and the third will be the skin. But you see that as far the skin is concerned, and we have already told you that this perineal boundaries, we have divided them into the two triangles here by an imaginary line that we can draw across the two ischial tuberosities. That will pass through the perineal body, then this also. This dotted line is an imaginary line that will actually pass across the two ischial tuberosities. This will divide the perineum into two triangles, you can say. This is the anterior triangle, which is the apex anteriorly and the base imaginary line, and the two sides are formed here by the pubic rami. This is called the urogenital triangle, because this is the triangle where the urinary and genital organs will make their exit. And on the back side you see again this time the base is anterior and the apex is posterior, that is the apex, we call it the tip of the coccyx, and two sides are bounded here, this time not the bone actually, this is soft tissue, but still you consider it like a bone, that is called the sacrotuberous ligament. This is called anal triangle here, because the anus open, or the anal triangle makes an exit here through the anus. This is the anal triangle. Now we are actually focusing here that when the skin is coming here, this skin will be definitely under this, under the urogenital triangle, under the anal triangle. When the fatty layer is coming here, this will be passing under the urogenital triangle, under the anal triangle. But when the Colles fascia comes, that is the third layer from superficial, or it will be the first layer from the deep, this will come here, will cover the urogenital triangle, but along this imaginary line which we have drawn, which incidentally is passing in the middle through the perineal membrane and is actually passing over the posterior free border of the urogenital diaphragm also, it is fused here now. It fused means the Colles fascia fuses here. That means in the anal triangle area the Colles fascia does not come. Means only the skin comes and the fatty layer comes. And if for example if for example here skin comes, fatty layer comes in the urogenital triangle, because the Colles fascia is there, so the fatty layer or the fat cannot go deeper into the urogenital area, because Colles fascia will stop it. But when it is actually coming here in this anal side here, anal triangle area, because the Colles fascia stops here and Colles fascia is not present in the anal triangle area, so the fatty layer or the fat which is present here can easily fill these gaps on two sides of the anal canal. Two sides of anal canal, how much they will fill this stuff? This stuff will be actually filled through into until the undersurface of the pelvic diaphragm comes. Why don't you actually see the undersurface of pelvic diaphragm here? Because it is being stopped here by another diaphragm, that is called urogenital diaphragm. The structures in the urogenital area is more complex. Here we don't have anything. we have just above our roof is here in this anal side, our anal triangle area, our roof is formed by what? Very deep roof, you see that is there, and it is formed here by the undersurface of the the levator ani muscle. And in the center, what is present only? The anal canal. On two sides, deep gaps are there, and these gaps are filled by the fatty layer, means by the fat here. So this ocean of fat is present on either side of the anal canal, from all sides of anal canal, and this fat will be actually, is not just here, this fat will communicate with each other here, because behind you know that already there is the anococcygeal body. So it will be in fact deeper to the anococcygeal body, this will become communicating with the other side also. So that means fat can easily communicate. Means two-sided, so this fat has filled that space on two sides of the anal canal. That space is called ischiorectal fossa, formerly called as ischiorectal fossa, but because the rectum is not there, it is the anal canal basically. This is the perineal region, rectum cannot occur in the perineal region, and it is the anal canal, so this will be called as ischiorectal fossa. I say ischioanal fossa. Previously, formerly, misnomer was called as ischiorectal fossa, but this is actually ischioanal fossa. Now its name has changed to ischioanal fossa. Into bracket ischiorectal fossa, maybe the question comes on ischiorectal fossa. This is ischiorectal fossa. Basically, you see that in reality it is ischioanal fossa on two sides of the anal canal. And if the two sides of the anal canal means these two ischiorectal fossa, if you are actually looking at this, if you are watching in this area, you see this is here. If this is skin now, if you look at this here, if this is skin, I say skin will be here, like this is skin. Next layer is the fatty layer, because this was a levator ani muscle, which was taking origin, you know that is taking origin from where? It is taking origin from the obturator fascia through the tendinous ring, which is actually the thickening of obturator fascia. So it was like this. So this is levator ani, and this is now passing, you see rectum is passing to become anal canal here. So this is the anal canal as appeared here, and now if this is skin, then will be the fatty layer. So fatty layer can come here in these gaps. Why in these gaps? Because these gaps are too deep now. Why? Because there is no diaphragm at the outlet, means at the level of I say in the anal triangle area. There is no diaphragm like perineal diaphragm, like there is no anal diaphragm. Why the anal diaphragm was not required? We didn't need any skeletal muscle. We need a skeletal muscle there, but that skeletal muscle is not a complete partition or any diaphragm like design. It is design is just like circles around the anal canal, and we have formed them. We call them three layers of three parts of the external anal sphincter that is present here. So diaphragm is not there, so gap is created, and that gap is filled by these bodies, these compact fat bodies. Actually this is a fatty layer, but these compact fat bodies are formed here on two sides of the ischio, and two sides of this anal canal. So these spaces, this is anal canal here, this is anal canal which is coming out here. So on two sides here, they will be filled by this. So that means these are dots which I am actually putting here. This is fat. The fat is now filling this gap now. This gap which we are actually telling you here, this gap is filled with the fat bodies. This gap is called ischiorectal fossa or ischioanal fossa. And you see across the anococcygeal body, this is the anococcygeal body. This fat can become continuous with the other sided fat here very easily. Means this is here, this is anococcygeal body, it can go like here. And if it is going like here, so that means posteriorly, this is in fact called this is space under the anococcygeal body. This is called the postnatal space. We call it the post-anal. Sorry, this is called the post-anal space. So that means this is the post-anal space which is passing under the anococcygeal body. And you know that this is anococcygeal body, this is perineal body. And this is a spindle-like second part of the external anal sphincter, whose anterior end is attached to the perineal body and posterior end is attached to the anococcygeal body. And deeper to the anococcygeal body, there is a space that is called, this space is called the post-anal space. And through the post-anal space, it is very easily continuous with the other side here. Means if the ischiorectal abscess is there, so pus if it is present here, will not remain here. Deeper to the anococcygeal body can come here also. This is the pus which I am actually telling you here. Any abscess which is in fact here. So, the pus can spread here and will form not like a single band, but a two bands here. Horseshoe shape spread will be there. Under the deeper to the post anal space, it can go deeper to the anococcygeal body here. Not only this, it is in the anal, so that means your ischiorectal fossa is like here. And if you are seeing this ischiorectal fossa, so the pus can drain like here. And this is the fat bodies, you can say, compact fat bodies are there. Because the anal canal which is lying and suspended in the middle remains collapsed here, it opens here, for example, at the time of the passage of feces or at the time of passage of the wind. So, you see that it expands here. When it expands, these fat bodies will easily permit them the space, the potential space is there. And this will be actually present here, and these fat bodies are not just the fat bodies, but you have already noted if the anal canal is suspended here, on two sides of the anal canal were present internal anal sphincter, but were present the longitudinal muscle fibers also, which closer to the skin will become converted into fibroelastic strains now, and these will catch hold of the dermis of a perianal skin, but the strains will actually go laterally also, they will go laterally, and these strains will laterally will fix with these fat bodies also and anchor the anal canal in the middle. So, they are traversed by, so these areas, or you can say these fat bodies are traversed by the fibrous strains coming from the longitudinal fibers, which are longitudinal muscle fibers. These are the fibrous strains now, they are no longer musculature, and here again you see that they will be coming here like this, and many of them strains, they will get fixed with the dermis around the perianal skin to make the perianal skin corrugated, wrinkled. But we have told you that this wrinkling is not because of the attachment of these strains only, there may be, this possibility is there, there is also a muscle, skeletal muscle which remains tonically contracted, lead here to the overlying as the superficial skin being corrugated here. That is called the corrugator cutis ani, means corrugator of the skin of the anus, that is why we call them this. So, this is something you are actually watching here. So, if you look at this green color which we are showing you fat bodies here, so this area is called ischiorectal fossa. If you see the ischiorectal fossa, if you are looking at the boundaries of ischiorectal fossa, for example, see laterally, if you are looking at laterally here, laterally it is formed here by obturator internus muscle. This is formed by obturator internus. You can see this obturator internus muscle here. This is obturator, but which part of obturator? Lower part of the obturator internus muscle, means it will be the lower part of obturator, means here. Lower half of the obturator internus muscle is forming the lateral boundary, that is covered by obturator fascia, and upper part of the obturator internus is present in the pelvic cavity proper, because you know that levator ani muscle takes origin from the tendinous arch that is actually at the middle of the obturator, so that the half of obturator will be above in the pelvic cavity proper and half will in the perineum. If it is the perineum, so that means it is forming here the lateral boundary of the ischiorectal fossa, and here this is it. And if it is because levator ani, so this will be actually your lateral side here, lateral boundary is this, and surely down will be the ischial tuberosity also, but the medial boundary is this. So, what the medial boundary? Very interesting here, you see this is blue line I am actually drawing here. First will be what? First will be the levator ani, the sloping levator ani, this is the medial boundary, but if the levator ani finishes here, you see that you will start here continuously up to the skin, this whole blue line will be crossing now these three bands of the musculature, that is called the external anal sphincter, means external anal sphincter is the forming the lower medial boundary, and this sloping border you see that is forming the sloping levator ani muscle is forming the upper half of the medial boundary, upper half of the medial boundary by levator ani and lower half of the medial boundary by external anal sphincter. Medial boundary already you have seen, and posteriorly you see that it is formed here by the gluteus maximus and the sacrotuberous ligament. A boundary you see that have been here, and this all is filled with the fat here. You don't have too many of dangerous structures lying here and there, you see. Very easily you can, if there is an abscess, drainage is very easy. Just make a cut here, cut over the skin superficial fascia is removed here, you see you are in the fat now, and you can drain the pus easily. And I told you that the pus is not present on one side, can be actually present on the other side also, can easily pass across and deeper to the post-anal space here, deeper to the anococcygeal body, you can communicate very easily here. But we will tell you that these are the boundaries which you are seeing. This is a wedge shape here, it's like a triangular, apex is lying above and base is lying below, And if you are looking at the lateral side here, I will show you that this will be lateral side. Lateral side is formed here by the obturator internus lower border, and it is formed not just by lower border, but it is covered here by the obturator fascia. I say lower half and obturator fascia, and upper half is lying above. And here this lower half is housing, this means obturator fascia. Deeper to this obturator fascia, here in the lower half will be in fact obturator fascia, which we are actually telling you is lying little raised here, because there will be a space created by the obturator fascia, means obturator fascia will be lifted here, because there is a gap created here, and that gap is called the Pudendal's canal. We call the Pudendal canal or call them Alcock's canal. We will tell you it's later, but watch here first this. This is called the obturator, we call it the Ischiorectal fossa here, or ischioanal fossa, and we have told you that the pus is going like this. It is filled with the fat bodies, and these fat bodies are supporting the anal canal and is supporting the rectum also. And if these fat bodies, due to certain debilitated diseases, if these fat bodies are mobilized, for example, and there is less fat now, so that means the anal canal and rectum will be less supported, and this is one of the causes of rectal prolapse also in certain debilitating diseases or wasting diseases. And if these fat bodies are there, you see that they support the anal canal, but you see that they were permitting the expansion, there is no problem in there. And these fat bodies are traversed by these tough fibrous bands, which we have told you that these are nothing but these are the modifications of the longitudinal musculature of the alimentary tract here. Because alimentary tract, longitudinal muscle is about to finish here. This is the last thing. Anal canal is the last component of the alimentary tract here, upper half of the anal canal, because lower half of the anal canal will be provided by the proctodium. This is from the ectoderm. And other things, you know that is epithelium is endodermal. And in this area especially, now when you are discussing here, that means the two ischiorectal fossa are actually continuous with each other across the post-anal space, deeper to the anococcygeal bodies. Not just this true only. Another thing which is true also, that these two-sided ischiorectal fossa, which we are until now discussing that they are the part of the anal triangle only, actually they can continuously go and will extend into the urogenital triangle also. You say how this will be possible? This is possible because you are looking at this now. If you are looking at this, if I am actually giving you here, this is the muscle, this is the urogenital diaphragm. You can't see the urogenital diaphragm because you have removed only the superficial fascias, the Colles fascia here. Removing them means you are in the superficial perineal pouch and you are watching this muscle, which is called a bulbospongiosus muscle. That is covering on two sides, you know that. This is in case of male, and in two sides it is covering the bulb of the penis. On two sides here, this one is called the ischiocavernosus. These are the skeletal muscles which are included in the superficial perineal pouch. Ischiocavernosus. This is called the ischiocavernosus. This is on the lateral side. This is bulbospongiosus muscle, you know that it is attached to the perineal body, but the ischiocavernosus not. And both of them, they are on the undersurface of the urogenital diaphragm. And urogenital diaphragm's undersurface is the fascia, and whose name is the perineal membrane. And this perineal membrane, which you are seeing, I am giving dots here. This is perineal membrane. This is perineal membrane. And here perineal membrane means urogenital diaphragm's two muscles are not visible here. One is called the deep transverse perineal muscle, another is called the sphincter urethrae muscle. And these two muscles out of this sphincter urethrae is more anteriorly placed, and deep transverse perineal muscle is more posteriorly placed. And that more posteriorly placed will be actually coming from the ischial tuberosities and attached in the middle again to the perineal body. You see, if the perineal membrane is intact in this diagram, why we are actually seeing these two muscles? This is a transverse perineal muscle, and transverse perineal muscle should not be visible. Actually, this transverse perineal muscle is called the superficial transverse perineal muscle. What you are not being able to see here because of the intact perineal membrane is the deep transverse perineal muscle, and that is the part of urogenital diaphragm, not this one. You can call it the component of the pelvic floor. This is true, but not urogenital diaphragm. This is another muscle. You call them what? You call it superficial transverse perineal muscle. This is also attached to the perineal membrane as a perineal body. And deeper to that, within the perineal membrane is attached here to the muscle that is called a deep transverse perineal muscle, again attached to the perineal body. At the same time, there is the levator ani muscle, you know that is also attached to the perineal body. And external anal sphincter, you know that it's a middle portion, that means the superficial part of the external anal sphincter, spindle like here, its anterior tip is attached here to again perineal body. You can say more than even 5-6 muscles are attached to the perineal body. Paired muscle, bulbospongiosus, again paired, superficial transverse perineal. Deeper to that within perineal membrane, deep transverse perineal, again paired. So these are 3 paired muscles. Some unpaired muscles also, for example, this external anal sphincter, levator ani muscle. So 5 muscles already we know they are attached, and to some extent they are attached. Certain other things also, like perineal membrane in the middle is also attached. Colles fascia stops here, it's the middle portion also attached. So there are 6 or 7 very important structures which in fact are attached here to the perineal body here. In this also, now we are discussing that and we told you that it's not just ischiorectal fossa is actually present here, it is continuously. In fact, it's coming in so much so that this ischiorectal fossa anteriorly, it is boundaries formed by the pubic symphysis and the pubic bones. So how it is possible that anterior boundary will be formed by this? Actually, if the pus is present here, this pus can reach at the back of the pubic symphysis and the pubic bodies. You see how it is possible? This pus can go here. I am cutting this here. I am cutting this superficial transverse perineal muscle, perineal body. I say perineal superficial transverse perineal muscle, surely deep also to some part of sphincter urethrae. I am actually cutting to show you how this pus is. Otherwise, I will not be able to see, because pus will not come here superficial to the perineal membrane. It will go deeper to the ERC, superior to the perineal membrane, means superior to urogenital diaphragm. Means it will go. That's why I am actually cutting this to show you how the pus can go, and cut it here, and means I am cutting this here. It has been cut here to show you that the pus can go and will extend here. Okay, cut it up to here, no problem. To see actually the things clear up to back here. So that means this can go up to here. I am cutting this cut margins. This is the pus going here. And if I am cutting here this also, so this can go even here. But here it will not join. Means it will be horseshoe shaped here. So that means if this ischiorectal fossa, and these are actually called the recesses, means I can put the hand here deeper to the urogenital diaphragm, superior to the urogenital diaphragm. And this will be actually, these are called the anterior recesses of ischioanal fossa. And my hand will stop where? My hand will stop at the back of the pubic bones here. Means the interior boundary of your ischiorectal fossa will be formed by posterior surface of the pubic bodies. Means it has gone into the urogenital triangle area also. Ischioanal fossa is not just a part of the anal triangle, it's a part of, so which recesses? 2 recesses. These are called the anterior recesses of the ischiorectal fossa or ischioanal fossa. So these are the pus that has actually gone here. So this will be possible to understand only when you have got a good idea about those overview classes in which we have told you all these things, in which we have discussed the false and true pelvis. We have discussed here the pelvic inlaid boundaries of the pelvic brim. We have gone into the true pelvis. In the true pelvis, we divided through the pelvic diaphragm, pelvic cavity proper, perineum. Perineum actually we divided into the bony perineum, soft tissue perineum, urogenital triangle, anal triangle. In that we have actually given the urogenital diaphragm, superior facial covering, inferior facial covering. His name is now perineal membrane. We saw the superficial perineal pouch, we saw the deep perineal pouches, all these things when we will actually discussing and will be looking at these areas, you see, meticulously, and we finally follow them, these things will be much easier for you. And whenever you will see that any scenario, your mind will make a tour of all these things here easily, and you will say that where the pus can actually going, why it is like here, where the extravasation of urine is there, and these things will be possible only you have got the basic knowledge of this. And in this area, I told you that this is called the ischiorectal fossa, and if the ischiorectal fossa is there, connected to this now is the pudendal canal. Now, if you see, if you are present here in the pelvis, below the pelvic diaphragm, in the perineum, so-called bony perineum, okay, in the anal area, at the anal triangle area, so that means you are actually lying on either side in one of the fossa, that is called the ischiorectal fossa. But you know that in the perineum you can enter only when you have the window that is called the superficial, that is called the lesser sciatic notch here. Window through the greater, window through the pelvic cavity proper is the greater sciatic notch, and window into the lesser sciatic, say into the perineum, is the lesser sciatic notch or lesser sciatic foramen. So, if any blood vessel wants to go, or the arteries, you see arteries are coming from aorta, and aorta is lying above in the abdomen. So, if any artery wants to go into the perineum, it cannot actually pass through the pelvic cavity proper through the levator ani muscle to reach in the perineum. It will come into the, surely it will leave the abdomen, will enter into the pelvic cavity proper, but to access the perineum, it will pass through the greater sciatic notch, come into the gluteal region for a while, immediately, because greater sciatic notch is separated from the lesser sciatic notch or foramen by ischial spine. So, immediately through, I say around the base of ischial spine, it will turn and will enter through this window, that is called the lesser sciatic notch or lesser sciatic foramen. And here certain structures, so that means all the nerves, arteries, veins have the passage from the pelvic cavity proper through greater sciatic foramen around the, I say ischial spine, will go into the lesser sciatic foramen. And among these neurovascular bundles, one is the internal pudendal artery, associated with the internal pudendal vein, and associated with will be the pudendal nerve. Pudendal nerve is one of the very major and important branches to the perineum, gift from sacral plexus, somatic, because the perineum is a somatic story. It is a somatic world, you can say. Huge skeletal muscle groups are lying there, voluntarily controlled, spinal nerve is required. And in the perineum, spinal nerve will mostly, it is actually coming from the sacral plexus, and sacral plexus is lying in the sacrum, in front of the sacrum, and sacrum is lying actually here in the pelvic cavity proper. So, the sacral plexus will not actually give the branches through the pelvic diaphragm into the perineum, but will be coming through the greater sciatic notch, will go into the lesser sciatic notch or foramen into the perineum here. So, all these structures, not only this, but you see the lesser sciatic notch is giving passage to the tendon of obturator internus muscle also. And obturator internus muscle should also be supplied by the skeletal, by the somatic nerve, by the spinal nerve, and that spinal nerve also comes from the sacral plexus, and that should also leave the greater sciatic foramen, and that should also enter into the lesser sciatic foramen. You can say when the tendon of the obturator internus is coming out, why I will send the nerve into the lesser sciatic foramen into the perineum? Because it is the tendon who is coming. Belly and the musculature is lying inside. Nerve enters into the center or the middle of the musculature. It is not entering into the into the tendon. If it is entering into the tendon, this will be its sensory branch, not the motor branch. The motor branch should enter into the belly of the musculature, that is called the motor point here. And this is lying inside. That is why the nerve to obturator internus, which is the branch of the sacral plexus, should leave the greater sciatic foramen, will enter into the lesser sciatic foramen around the ischial spine. This is not actually moving around the ischial spine, remains in the little bit in the say in the gluteal region, then enters into the lesser sciatic foramen here. So, these four structures actually are leaving the gluteal region, not staying there for too long, and will enter into the lesser sciatic foramen. Into the lesser sciatic foramen. When they enter, they will not immediately. When they enter, they will come now into the ischial spine, as ischiorectal fossa. I said they come into the perineum. When they see in front, urogenital triangle. When they see behind, anal triangle. In the anal triangle is the ischiorectal fossa. But when they enter now inside, when they enter inside, you know that the lateral wall is here formed by the obturator internus muscle. So, they cannot be allowed to go into the center immediately. They will remain along the walls. Along the walls, you know that already the obturator internus covered with the obturator fascia. So, they will be deeper to the obturator fascia, because you know that obturator fascia is being is covering the obturator internus. So, it cannot easily come here. So, that means under the obturator fascia, these structures, especially obturator internus muscle, will enter into the belly of the obturator internus, nerve to obturator internus will enter into the belly of the obturator internus, but these three pudendal structures, the internal pudendal artery, internal pudendal vein, and the pudendal nerve, they will travel. And they will travel means they will lift the obturator internus, will actually be like a fold. So, it will be lifted here. Do you see this? This is lifted up. Now, you see this is lifted. This is a internal pudendal artery, this is a internal pudendal vein, and this one is pudendal nerve. So, it has been lifting, means what has been lifted? The obturator fascia has been lifted. And lifted means for how long it will be lifted? Until these three structures are lying inside them. So it is related to which part of the ischiorectal fossa? Obviously lateral wall of the ischiorectal fossa. Which part of the obturator internal muscle? Lower part of obturator internal muscle. So lower part of the obturator internal muscle means in the lateral wall of the ischiorectal fossa, closer to the lower part of the obturator internal muscle, the fascia covering the obturator internals is actually lifted up here to accommodate these three neurovascular bundles to create here a canal. That canal is called the canal, we call it the Cox canal, we call it the Pudendal canal. And because all these three structures in fact are passing and are winding around the base of the ischial spine. So if through the vaginal examination you can feel the ischial spine, you can pass the needle and put here the anesthetic solution there. So pudendal nerve will be anesthetized. This is called pudendal block. Why the pudendal block is actually being guided here by ischial spine? Because we know that the ischial spine is actually giving the support like a lever, like a syringe or a pulley around which is passing our pudendal nerve. Though there is a pudendal artery also, but it is called the pudendal nerve. So we can actually pass here closer to our finger, we will pass the needle and we will put the anesthetic solution there, and it will be the pudendal canal, and the perineum and all these muscles etc. will be anesthetized here. We will discuss that more in pudendal nerve course and relations and everything, along with the internal pudendal artery and these things also. This is called the pudendal canal, very much related to ischiorectal fossa. That is why we actually discuss this along with that, along with the ischiorectal fossa. So this is called the pudendal canal, Cox canal. It contains its location, how it is being formed here, and at the same time, because nerve to obturator internus is also entered, because it will not travel too long in the pudendal canal, so we will not actually count as the content of the pudendal canal as such. You see that usually people do not count it because it will not travel too long. It will immediately come here and we will see the belly of the obturator internus and will enter into that and will be actually terminating that here. This is the motor branch of your obturator internus, which has already during its course through the gluteal region for a while, it has already supplied here another muscle also, that is called the gemellus superior. So gemellus superior and obturator internus both have been supplied here by nerve to obturator internus, which you know that is a very important branch coming from the sacral plexus. And if anything comes from sacral plexus, it will leave the pelvic cavity proper to come into the window that is called the great ischiatic foramen to come into the gluteal region. Either you will stay in the gluteal region or you can go here into the perineum. And with the perineum, the window has been offered to you, that is called the less ischiatic foramen. Enter into that. Three neurovascular bundles related to the pudendals, they enter into that also. This was the class today.